We're going to start with rolling the neck. So I think all of you have the balls toted, but if not, I didn't grab it, but you can use a foam roller. Pretty self-explanatory. It'll just go across, horizontally across the back of the neck. Or if you don't have a foam roller, you can always use the edge of a block. I'm going to show you with the balls. If you're using the balls and they're like tennis ball size or even smaller, you're probably going to want an additional block or books stacked up. You don't have a block. Otherwise, the head can drop back too much and you don't actually get that pressure on the neck. So you might need something else underneath it. So I like to on the block first, have the balls in hand. And if you need any or want any special setup for the legs, otherwise you can just lie down with your feet on the ground. Knees bent. And then once you get on your back, once you get your head on the block, then use a hand to pick the head up. The other hand to slide the balls right at the base of the skull. So I'm not on the bony ridge. I'm just beneath it. I'm in those little soft pockets. And I try to position myself so that I can't feel the block hitting my neck. I'm kind of perched right on the edge of the block. And then my hope is, with the angle, your chin is slightly lower than the forehead. It's dropping towards the chest. Just quieting for the brain. And then after a few moments, you might push your head down into the balls and slide your shoulders down away from the head. So at least for me, what's common is those shoulders start to creep up towards the ears. And then however you want to rest the arms so you get that feeling of the shoulders relaxing towards the floor. And maybe slowing your breath down or whatever way you need or would be useful it to land to separate yourself from the rest of the day. We're going to take 3 more minutes here. You can use those 3 minutes quietly resting. Don't have to do anything other than what you're doing now, just landing. Or you can add some movement of the head. You can nod the head up and down. You could shake the head no. Like figure 8 like motions. You can turn your head so far in one no direction, so to the side, that you're just hovering on one ball, and then you can nod or circle the head around. Maybe circling the jaw around. I'm going to set my timer. We're going to take 2 more minutes here. Knowing that at any point you can come out, you don't have to stay About a minute to go. Option to take more time is always available to you. If you've reached that saturation point, though, you're just happy to move on. Use a hand to lift the head, the other hand to slide the balls out. Rest your head on the block or whatever object was beneath them. And take a few moments letting the neck slowly acclimate. And then you'll do the same thing with that block. I'm going to keep mine in place, otherwise, I'm worried I'm going to start coughing. But you'll use a hand to lift your head, slide the block out or books out, head to the ground, and then take a few moments to rotate the head right to left. You could do those same nodding gestures, head circles. And then you'll take your time to make your way up to a seat. We're going to do a few seated neck stretches, which is making sure you're comfortable in your own body. Doesn't have to be on the yoga mat. You can move over to a couch or comfy chair. It doesn't matter to me if you're sitting on the shins or with the legs crossed. I just want you to feel supported and have the ability to be upright with your spine. And then once you find that seat, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, just turn the palms together and rub the hands together, creating a little bit of warmth between. And then placing the palms over your. Take a few slow breaths. Again, just settling in, a moment to pause. Disrupt that rushing that usually dominant in our lives. Connect with yourself, maybe your reason for being here if there is one. Taking one more slow breath in, slow breath out. You release the arms. You can keep the eyes closed. If anything doesn't make sense that I'm saying, though, you, of course, look up here. You're going to interlace the hands behind the back and then swing those interlaced hands over towards the right waist or the right hip. So they were behind you, you just swing them over to the side. And then lower your chin towards your chest and let your left ear roll towards that left shoulder and then chin back to chest. You just take a quarter roll with your head and your neck over to that left side a few times. Eventually pausing with the head dropping towards that left shoulder. And then the hands are a counterweight. They're anchoring that right hip down. Let your back waist fill into that left forearm. And then drop your tailbone, drop your thighs, drop your jaw. And then you'll roll your chin back to your chest, lift your head. You're going to free that right arm from the interlace and bring the elbow at your side, palm up like you're holding a tray. And that left hand may be able to grab your right bicep or the sleeve of your shirt. And then lower your chin again. Take a few of those quarter rolls. Left ear towards left shoulder, chin back towards your chest. And at that point that you're ready, you're going to land back with that left ear towards the left shoulder. If you have a hold of that right arm or shirt, just like you want to slide or share that platter a little bit in front of you, just imagine you could reach that right arm forward. Maybe I'm going an inch, maybe not even quite that far. And then release the chin to the chest, release the arms completely. Lift your head. We're going to do one more. Might toggle the head in the center. And then one more time, you're going to dip that left ear towards the left shoulder. You can bring that left hand up to the side of the head, this more traditional version. Right arm might come out to the side. And that palm can be down, or I've been doing lately palm moving towards the ceiling, turning it up in that external rotation. You can slide the arm forward or back, move the head a little bit. Let it all go. Lift the head. You can give it that little bobble in the middle or some big shoulder circles. You shake out the arms. Might roll the wrists around, wiggle the fingers. Then we're going to do all of that on the second side. So if you're sitting with the shins crossed, you might change the cross. Or if you're on your shins and you need a moment to stretch forward and stretch out the legs, take a little breather. And then you'll meet me in your seat again. Interlace the hands behind the back. Maybe take that non-habitual. So whatever you normally do, slide each finger down one, the awkward way. And then hands towards the left hip or left waist. Chin towards your chest. And then you'll take those quarter rolls, this time right ear towards right shoulder. Really easy for me, even pre-pregnancy, to kind of push the ribs forward, turn this into a back bend. So if you're living in that world, just see if you can soften back into that right forearm. Think about going up through the center column of the spine. And then whenever you want, you're going to pause, right ear towards right shoulder, and take a few breaths. Feel the hands weighting that left hip down. Good. Chin to chest first, then you'll lift the head. You're going to slide that right arm out, left arm out so it's free. Elbow at your side, palm up. If you can grab the bicep or just your sleeve. And then drop the chin again. Take those quarter rolls. shoulder to chest. Eventually stopping with that right ear towards the right shoulder. And then maybe if it's available, like you want to slide that left arm a little further forward, like you're considering sharing your appetizers, but you're not quite sure yet. You're not going to go that far out of your way. And undo it. Drop the chin. Lift the head. Give me a little toggle. And then last one, you're going to drop that right ear towards right shoulder. Optional to bring the right arm up. Grab the side of the head. Float the left arm out, palm up, palm down. Experiment with how far forward or backwards you take that arm, or how close in towards the side of the body. Next few moments, you'll let it go. Finding center, finding neutral, any movement of the head, the arms, the wrists. Soaking up the neck stretches. So signaling to the body that it's time to move on. And then when that time does come, you'll come to hands and knees and take a little bit of time on your own, moving the spine, moving the head, the neck. You might get the hips involved, especially after sitting for quite some time. So cat cow ish, cat cow framework to start, maybe. And then wherever the body wants to take you. Do your best not to rush yourself or have an agenda. Much as you can soften into that heart space. And ride the elevator from the brain down. Get into the body. Think less about the way things should look and more about the way things feel. Another minute or so. Whatever is calling to you, movement, stillness, particular shape, particular breathing pattern. Okay. We're going to come into supported fish. And I want to give you a few options depending on how much you feel like back bending tonight. So typically one block under the shoulder blades, one under the head. The block under the shoulder blades can go horizontally or it could go vertically. If it's going vertically, it's running on the spine, kind of between the shoulder blades, horizontally across the shoulder blades. The whole point of this is to open the chest and allow the shoulders to drop. So that's really top priority. And then you can decide, I want less of a back bend, you take the blocks down. You want more of a back bend, you take the blocks up. I have been doing the blocks on the highest height and a bolster under my hips. So if you really want a good chest opener, but being kind to the low back, you can put the blocks on the highest height and then sit on something like a cushion or a couple folded blankets. I find that my head needs to be higher, so higher than my chest. You might add an extra blanket back there. So lots of options. But again, priority is just that you feel that nice spaciousness across the chest. The volume of it, personal preference. Okay, hopefully that's enough options and not too many. You can put something under the legs. You can keep the feet on the ground. You could slide the legs forward, straight. You might cover yourself with a blanket. We're going to take 5 minutes here. So keeping that in mind, when you choose your pose, how long can you sustain it comfortably in a skillful way? Excuse me. Set the timer. If you're choosing the higher version, trying to get the arms out to the sides, that the ground might feel kind of far away. You could add blankets or pillows if you have extra props around you. Or sometimes I like to grab the opposite elbow and take my arms overhead and rest them on the edge of the block overhead. That's also an option to open up the side waist a little bit more. Timer is going. I'm going to give you a little bit of quiet space and we'll catch up together for the next shape. the shape that you're in. Of course, if you need more time, then don't do anything. Just stay where you are. But if you're ready to wrap up the shape, you're going to reach your arms up towards the ceiling and reach away from you. And then either grabbing opposite elbows or opposite shoulders. So going from opening the chest to opening the back. You might be able to walk the fingers kind of underneath you, grab the shoulder blades. Excuse me. And I like to rock a little right to left. You'll notice which arm you put in front. You're going to switch the cross. So you'll reach back up to the ceiling, stretch those arms away from you, then take the opposite clasp. Maybe a little bit of that side sway. And let it go. Ease your way over to a side. Come off that support. Now we are really going to go from opening the chest to opening the back. So we're going to do some kind of child's pose where you feel like you can get a widening across the back. So you could do without any props and stretch forward, but generally that turns into a little bit of a back bend and moves you in more of a just the shape that you were in. So finding somewhere where you can round a little bit so you feel the shoulder blades move apart. I've been doing blocks in a T and then bolster on the blocks or couple folded blankets or couch cushions are really nice. The back of a couch works well for this. And if you like to sit on anything or put something between heels and bum or a blanket under the shins, or now that it's getting dark and a little chillier, if you want a blanket to cover you. But again, somewhere that you can feel a little more rounding in that back. And if you're not pregnant, you can roll up a blanket, like a burrito roll, and put that right across the tops of the thighs so that when you come forward, you get compression for the belly and it creates that rounding, but rounding with something to lean into. That's another way to try to accomplish that. Yeah. And if you really just child's pose doesn't work for knees, hips, you can come onto your back and hug your knees in. You could take your feet on the wall and do like a happy baby at the wall. We are going to do 5 minutes. Set the timer again. Excuse me. And I'm settling back into that quiet space. I'll let you know when it's time to move on.
Getting out of the shape with care for yourself, whenever you need to stretch out or however you want to respond.
We're going to do one more brief chest opener before our Shavasana. And I'm just going to have to talk you through this one because you're going to be on your belly. You're going to want your blocks, or if you have don't have blocks, you could use blankets folded. They're going to go towards the front of your mat on mama bear, so baby bear's lowest, mama bear, angled underneath the shoulders. So you're laying on your stomach, blocks are towards the front. You might want a pillow for the head. And if this is too high, you can flip them down. But hopefully after all the prep work you've done, chest is feeling open. So again, you lay on your stomach, blocks are supporting just the inside, the head of the shoulder. They're angled so they're not pushing on the chest. You might want a pillow for your head. And then legs are long behind you, as wide as you want to go, so the back and the sacrum feel happy. And we're just going to do 3 minutes, not quite as long. Arms can be tucked back by your sides, kind of like a locust pose. And again, you might need to bring the ground up to you with a pillow for the forehead. Yeah, folded blankets work great. Let yourself be held. Just let go of the weight of the arms. The weight of the chest, the torso, the hips. Just a few breaths. I really love this one. So if you're not ready, if you're not inclined to come out, feel free to stay longer. I want to talk you through the setup for Shavasana, which is always personal preference, but I'm going to suggest a pranayama Shavasana, which is a very gentle back bend using blankets to support the spine. If you only have one blanket available, you'll use one blanket. If you have multiple, I'm going to suggest two, maybe three. So you want blanket or blankets folded in half the long direction. So you have a long rectangle. And we're not sitting on the blanket. These blankets in my mat really are not good contrast. You're sitting on your mat and laying back so that the blanket is right at the sacrum. So it fills in that curve of the low back. The benefit of having multiple blankets, it makes like a waterfall, which feels really nice for the spine. So you would do same fold, but staggered a little bit. So when you stack it on top, you take it back a few inches. And then if you're taller, three blankets is my preference. I didn't grab that many tonight. If you're taller, you might want three blankets. And again, it's staggered just a few inches behind. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I flipped the blanket underneath for my head. So I have a pillow, or you could just grab an actual pillow. You don't have to use the blankets. But folding the blankets underneath will give you a little more head neck support. And then maybe a bolster under the backs of the knees. Legs could be straight, or you could do Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees open, blanket to cover you, something to cover the eyes. Got about 10 minutes for this Shavasana, so grab all the things and take your time. And it should feel like a very gentle chest opener, very gentle back bend. Nothing too dramatic, but still providing that spaciousness for the front of the chest. And do prioritize good head neck support. So fluff up what's underneath you. You need to add additional layers. And I'm going to encourage arms at least far enough to the sides that the shoulders drop down. They don't have to be out in a T, but not having them tucked right up by your side. So we're not pushing the head of the shoulder up. If you find, you just slide them out until you feel, oh, I can instantly feel that drop down of the shoulder and then that opening across the chest. Take your time to settle. Maybe a yawn or a sigh. Sinking in, savoring these last few minutes that you've set aside for yourself, for care, for rest. Again, moving more from the head down to the heart, from the heart radiating out through the entire body. Just a warm glow, compassion extending towards yourself. Feeling in this moment, there's nothing more important or valuable that you could be doing with your time. There will always be time for doing.
this moment, doing less. And I'll let you know when it's time to come up. soft in the body. Take a slow breath in, slow breath out. Welcoming several more of those. Reorienting yourself to the space you're in, sound, sensation. Adding a little bit of movement. You know the drill. If you're choosing to stay, you'll just stay. If you're coming out, you'll roll over to a side, take several moments, several breaths. Eventually finding a comfortable seat to close. I'll bring the palms together, rub the hands together, make that warmth again. And then placing the palms over the heart, feeling in your practice, your intention for being here, any intention you want to carry with you. Closing our practice, our time together with one last slow breath in. That generous breath out. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.